From 1988 until today, almost 40 years, who are the new Beatles?
Right. Gene, we're wrapping up here. Is rock and roll still dead?
It is. And people don't understand how I can say that when we all have our favorite songs and we love our favorite bands, you and I and everybody else. But what I mean is that, well, let's play a game. And I've done this before. From 1958 until 1988, that's 30 years. 30 years. So what came during that period? Well, we had Elvis, we had the Beatles, the Stones, Jimi Hendrix, all that, Pink Floyd, the solo artist, David Bowie, and just music that lasts forever, we'd like to think. In the disco world, you had Madonna, uh, more heavy guitars, you had, oh, God, I don't know, AC/DC and everybody else, Aerosmith, and on and on. And you had Motown at the same time. You had Prince. You know, it was a very, very rich musical menu. It could go up and down. You had prog bands. You had Yes, Genesis, Gentle Giant, and you had the heavy bands, Led Zeppelin, and so on. And from 1988 until today, it's something like almost 40 years, certainly 35 years. Who are the new Beatles?
Uh, I mean, I could give two, maybe three. That's
Go
it.
ahead.
Nirvana.
Stop. We are blinded. I'm a major fan.
Yeah.
If you walked down the street and asked a 20-year-old who's the bass player in Nirvana, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. Or can you sing a Nirvana song? No, no. The Beatles and to a slightly lesser extent the Stones and Elvis, everybody knew the Beatles. If you hated rock music, you knew about them. By the way, I'm delusional enough to believe some market reports about how the Kiss faces are the most recognized faces on the planet. And I've tried this before. You walk down the street, randomly ask people, who's on Mount Rushmore? They'll say Elvis. They won't get it, but they know those four faces anywhere you go. They may hate
Yeah.
the band, but you can't deny that. So Nirvana, one of my favorite bands. If you ask somebody who's 20 or something, there's a generation gap. Name a song. They wouldn't be able to tell you who's the bass player. No idea. And by the way, I know that because one of the other samples is my son, who's no longer that age, when he was a little bit over 20, saw a cute girl. He's telling me the story. So a cute girl, so he's trying to open up the conversation. And she's wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt that's got the tongue on it. And on top of the t-shirt, it actually says the Rolling Stone. And he walks up and his first line is, oh, so you're a fan, huh? And she said something like, yeah, of what? And Nick, my son, says, the Stones. She goes, the Stones? He goes, yeah, the Rolling Stones. She goes, the Rolling Stones? What's that, a band? Nick says, are you kidding? You're wearing their t-shirt. And he was telling me she looked down, upside down, I guess, because it's facing. And she goes, oh, I just like the shirt. I just like the t-shirt. And Nick said, you must know the Rolling Stones. Satisfaction. Bam, bam, la, da, da. Nope, never heard it. He went through a few other songs, never heard those songs. And he said, you've never heard of Mick Jagger? And she said, Mick Jagger. Oh, yeah, I heard. What I'm about to tell you, my hand to God, is true. No exaggeration. She goes, Mick Jagger? Oh, yeah, the serial killer. Everything you
He
think.
ended up marrying that girl, right? No, I don't know.
Never did. But anything you think is commonplace that the masses know, they don't. Very few things everybody knows.
Okay, that being said though, Gene.
What were the other two bands?
Oh, the other two bands I was gonna say are the biggest bands, Pearl Jam.
Not on your life.
And Foo Fighters.
You're of course. I love Foo Fighters, love those bands. Mike McCready told me he was growing up with those Kiss records. In fact, one of his solos is which he took note for note from Elvis from Ace Frehley. But that's not my point. My point is, if you randomly walk down the street and you ask the first young person you meet, 20-year-old, and you say, name me anybody in Pearl Jam. Good luck with that. Name me or tell me a song, hum a song they do. You and I are blinded because we're very close to it. So here's something the rest of the world knows, but we don't. Who's the Prime Minister of England? Tell me who the Prime Minister of France is. Tell me who the Prime Minister of Canada is. And by the way, next to Pearl Jam and Nirvana, strangely, Dave Grohl has become far more popular. They may know Dave because he's done TV commercials and sort of rubbed shoulders with people outside of guitars and concerts. That's how you get to be iconic. So if I say Snoop Dogg, everybody knows who that is. But if you mention other rappers who might actually be bigger rap stars, MC Criminal or whatever, I just made that up, the masses wouldn't have any idea. It's because Snoop plays in media, had a TV show with Martha Stewart and that kind of thing. So the masses have no idea who's in Fish, one of my favorite bands, or Pearl Jam. They wouldn't have a clue unless you're a fan. And by the way, one of the biggest bands ever is ABBA. Ask anybody. Well, I'll ask you. Name the two girls in ABBA.
Oh, I could have named the two guys. What's his name? I can't name the girls.
That's my point.
It's a fair point, Gene. But what about Taylor Swift? Or is the point that she's not rock?
The biggest artist of all time, and well deserved, say I. Are you near a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Do you have a cell phone nearby?
I have a cell phone next to me.
Okay, open up the cell phone, go to Google, put in Taylor Swift, Keith Urban, Kiss Band.
Oh, I've seen this. Taylor Swift pranks Keith Urban. She came on dressed as Kiss.
The whole band did.
The whole band did. Because everyone loves Kiss.
Well, even if you hate it, not everybody loves Jesus either. That's not the point. Fame itself is the ultimate reward. Everybody's not going to like you, but they know you. We have a photographer who's been with us for, I don't know, 40 or 50 years, and he's done everybody, the Stones and Zeppelin and everybody. And he's a real music aficionado, collects posters and stuff. He hates the Beatles, always has. Can't stand listening to them, but he knows who they are. John, Paul, George, Ringo. Yeah. You know who Jesus is. Not everybody likes him, even the people that hate the idea of it. They've heard of the name and they know who he is. Fame is the ultimate reward.
Gene, I'm wrapping up here with this last question. You guys in Kiss are part of that group of people that you mentioned from the 50s into 88 or whatever the exact year was. You are literally on there is no discussion of rock and roll without Kiss. Do you acknowledge that? And does that feel real, or do you almost feel removed from it? And is it hard to put yourself in those shoes?
I don't want to say this for effect. And I've said this before, and the feedback is, you're full of it. Well, I may be full of it, but none of that means anything to me. It really doesn't. I also don't have a thing about things, material wealth. You know, I certainly enjoy money, and I always want to make more of it, but it's not because it can buy me things. It's because it gives you security and freedom. But buying things does not appeal to me. Also, credibility means nothing to me. Nothing. Because credibility is a small group of people, often in New York or LA or London, you know, major cities, who sit around critics, who sit around writing lists and making these things up and are not connected to the great unwashed masses. Just like this, the first time the current president ran for president, every CNN, but everybody thought No question. Hillary Clinton will beat the pants off and everything. She's the next. Every poll. And I remember watching CNN and Wolf Blitzer. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an upset the likes of which we've never seen before, despite the fact that the thing, and then state after state, and he beat the pants off her. And by the way, all the polls yet again were showing that Kamala Harris, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're in, but all the polls said she was going to win. She not only lost, but she lost by a lot. And by the way, she lost the popular vote and the electoral college. So, what the political pundits or the critics say, there is only one judge and jury, and those are the masses. That's all there is. Because they don't have a vested interest. They're not political. They're not trying to be cool. They live in places like Ypsilanti, Michigan, where you're not trying to impress somebody with your new Rolex watch or whatever the latest thing is. New York and LA are affected. All the stars live in New York. All the big financial people live in, sorry, all the stars live in LA and all the big financial people live in New York. And if you're a country person, you all live in Nashville, you can make these generalizations are true. But if you're away from those cities, these are the people, the great masses, which we all have to buckle our knees to, whether you're the Pope or a political figure or a rock band. You live and die by whether or not the masses love you, not by whether or not critics love you.